There are a lot of strong characters on television and a lot of partnerships that are fine, but very few where you watch them and think, they're not saying it, but they don't need to. That was always the thing with Xena and Gabrielle. It's never fully explained, not really, never quite clearly defined, but it's always there. In the way they look at each other, in the way they choose each other, again and again. And somehow that's exactly why it works. Xena isn't introduced as a hero. She has a past, a very violent one, and the show doesn't let you forget that. She's not trying to prove she's strong. That would be completely unnecessary. But she is trying to be better, which is harder. What makes her interesting is how controlled she is. She doesn't waste words. She doesn't explain herself unless she has to, and that's usually at the end of a sword. And when she fights, it's quick, precise, and efficient, and generally fatal. No dramatic speeches, no showing off, just pointy sword, job done. There's also a kind of dryness to her, a quiet sarcasm. The sort of person who will save your life and then look mildly annoyed about it. And that restraint is what makes her feel rather normal. Then you have Gabrielle. At the start, she's almost the complete opposite. She talks a lot. She asks questions a lot. She believes people can be better, which, standing next to Xena, is quite a bold position to take. But she's just not there to admire Xena. She challenges her as well. Not aggressively, just very persistently. She asks the questions Xena would rather not answer. She pushes in small ways, and she brings something into the story that Xena doesn't naturally have. Hope. Not blind optimism, but a belief that things can change, including Xena herself. What makes the show work isn't just who they are, it's who they are together. Xena protects Gabrielle, that part is obvious. But Gabrielle does something just as important. She keeps Xena grounded. She reminds her that the world isn't just something to survive. And over time, that dynamic shifts in interesting ways. Gabrielle becomes stronger, more capable, less likely to stand behind Xena, and more likely to stand beside her. And Xena softens slightly. Not in an overly dramatic way, she's still Xena, but she lets someone in, which for her is quite a big deal. And then there's the part that everyone noticed. Even if the show never quite said it out loud, the relationship between Xena and Gabrielle was always written in a kind of in-between space. You can watch it as a friendship, you can watch it as a partnership, or you can watch it and think, that is so gay. And once the writers realised people were seeing that, they didn't shut it down. In fact, they leaned into it carefully. It was the 90s after all. They took it as far as they could go, and with a lot of fun. And that's why it works. Because it wasn't forced, it wasn't explained, or, there wasn't any terrible coming out scenes and all that kind of stuff. It was just there. What makes this work isn't that they grow, it's how they grow. It's in those small moments, the quiet conversations that invariably involved fish for some reason. The times when nothing dramatic is happening, but everything important is. It's the way Gabrielle looks at Xena when she's trying, really trying to be better. And the way that Xena, who trusts almost no one, but chooses to trust her. Not once, but again and again. That's the part that stays with you because it feels human. Because it's not rushed or forced. It grows naturally, over time. And somewhere along the way, it stops being about a warrior and her chatty companion and starts being about two people who have chosen each other through everything, day after day, through the good things and the bad things, through the light and the darkness. And that's why it lasts, because it feels like a real relationship. Xena is strength, Gabrielle is hope. On their own, they're compelling. Together, they feel complete. And that's why it still works today. Not just because of the battles, but because of the bond. Because of those quiet moments. Because of that choice to stay, day after day, in the darkness and in the light. And maybe that's the real reason people come back to the show. Not for the action, but for them. Thank you for spending this time with me.